Let's dive right in because there's so much to unpack in this episode and I don't want to jinx it. Is this the return to form for Game of Thrones? Could it even be the best season yet? All jokes aside, this show completely caught me off guard, like finding out your best friend eloped in Vegas while you were none the wiser. If you're new here, this is where we dive deep into the lore, connections, and details you might have missed in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Fair warning, spoilers ahead for everything beyond this first season. Every like, comment, and subscription helps movies and series reset grow, so if you enjoy this, stick around and hit that subscribe button. Now, let's talk about Lionel Baratheon and that Maester looming over Dunk like disappointed parents after a night out. You might think this is Maester Yormwell, the one Prince Baelor Targaryen wanted to examine Dunk after dealing with Prince Mikar. But since Baelor didn't survive, that order never came through. So this Maester, he's from House Baratheon. And that moody jazz music kicking off the episode, that's entirely new for Game of Thrones, proving this series isn't afraid to carve its own path. The song playing during the end credits is Tennessee Ernie Ford's 1955 recording of 16 Tons, a haunting tune about a coal miner crushed by systemic poverty and the struggle for dignity in a world where the little man is treated like property. It perfectly encapsulates Dunk's world, one where freedom is an illusion and the common man is trapped in an endless cycle of hardship. This scene between Lionel and Dunk, not in the books. Neither is Lionel's claim that the tournament was wonderful. For Dunk, it was anything but. But for Lionel, history will remember him as a valiant warrior who stood for honor in one of the most legendary tournaments in the Seven Kingdoms, or should I say 9. We'll get to that. Life at Storm's End, the heart of House Baratheon, is dull for Lionel. What he really wants is a friend like Dunk, someone to hunt, hawk, and make merry with. He even invites Dunk back to Storm's End and asks if he's ever visited Tarth, the island just east of Shipbreaker Bay. You might remember Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin confirmed she's a direct descendant of Duncan the Tall. While the exact lineage isn't spelled out, one popular theory suggests Dunk had an affair with one of Egg's sisters. So far, we know Dunk had 3 brothers, Daeron, Aerion, and Aemon, but he also had 2 older sisters, Daela and Rhys. The theory goes that one of these princesses was married off to House Tarth to hide a bastard child, explaining Brienne's towering height and why Dunk's shield ends up in the Tarth armory in a feast for crows. Lionel's Maester says Dunk's wound has mortified, meaning it's gone gangrenous. The Maesters suggest boiling hot wine to cleanse it, but Lionel isn't having it. He even drops the line, "The others take me," referencing the White Walkers, who, at this point, are just boogeymen to the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. I love how this scene is set against a hedge and a massive elm tree, a fitting backdrop for a hedge knight whose sigil is emblazoned with one. And let's not overlook Lionel's stag crutch, a nod to his house. Lionel offers Dunk a place at Storm's End, promising to love him like a brother, but Dunk's response is what really matters. "All I do is bring pain and suffering to those around me." We'll see this guilt play out throughout the episode, especially when it comes to Prince Baelor's death. Dunk feels responsible even if he didn't land the killing blow. It's why he initially turns down Mikar's offer to take Egg as his squire. "I think I'm done with princes," he says, but we'll get to why he changes his mind. Lionel, meanwhile, has little respect for Baelor's sacrifice. Any good dragon is a dead dragon. To him, Baelor's involvement was cowardly. His 3 Kingsguard wouldn't dare attack him, let alone Steffon and his nephews. The only real threat was his brother Mikar, so the risk was minimal compared to knights like Humphrey Harding, Beastberry, and Apple, both of whom lost their lives in the battle. It reminds me of what Sir Robin Wrisley said to Baelor. The gods won't favor a warrior whose opponents refuse to fight him. Lionel's take? The gods don't favor frauds, so why do they favor Dunk? If you believe Dunk was never truly knighted by Sir Arlen, then he is a fraud. The books leave it ambiguous, but the show leans heavily into the idea that Dunk was never knighted. There's even a scene just hours before Sir Arlen's death where Dunk questions why he's never been knighted. Sure, it's possible Sir Arlen knighted him after this moment, but Dunk's hesitation to knight Raymond Fossaway in episode 4, and that weird cut to Sir Arlen looking at him like, "What do you want me to do?" paints a pretty clear picture. George R.R. Martin has said Dunk is a special case, a knight who may not be a knight. The question of his knighthood is something Martin will continue to explore, but as we've seen, Dunk behaves more like a true knight than many who actually are. It's not about the sword, the armor, or the title, it's about actions. And Dunk's actions speak louder than words. Lionel also warns of war on the horizon. Remember, Westeros has enjoyed 13 years of relative peace since the first Blackfyre rebellion, which we glimpsed in younger Dunk. The war Lionel's hinting at is likely the second Blackfyre rebellion, which happens 3 years after the Ashford tournament and serves as the backdrop for the third Dunk and Egg novella, The Mystery Knight. While Lionel doesn't appear in the second novella, the writers seem to be setting him up for future appearances. And yes, he does meet Dunk again later, but we'll get to that. Prince Baelor is burned in the traditional Targaryen way by fire, but there are no dragons to light the pyre, unlike what we saw with King Viserys' wife and child in House of the Dragon. What's more interesting is who isn't there. There's some debate about the older man and woman in attendance. At this point, we don't have confirmation if the older man is King Daeron II and his wife, Queen Myraya Martell. Keep in mind, riding from King's Landing to Ashford could take up to 2 weeks by horse. If it is the king, why aren't Baelor's second son, Matarese, and wife, Jenna Dondarrion, present? They'd presumably be in King's Landing. Some might argue Myraya Martell was known for her black Dornish hair, but at her age, it's natural for it to turn gray. There's also a brief shot of this older man walking in the background during the episode's tag. Surely, the king wouldn't be walking, he'd have a royal carriage. The books only mention that King Daeron had a peaceable nature, and that Baelor was the finest knight of his age, with some arguing he should have been buried in armor with a sword in hand. But in the end, Daeron's wishes prevailed. It doesn't specify if those wishes were delivered in person or by Raven. From left to right, we have the Ashford Septa who pleaded for the gods' justice before the trial. Manfred Dondarrion, whose relative Jenna was married to Baelor, and 2 white-haired girls in the background. Pure speculation here, but they might be Mikar's daughters Daela and Rhee. The silver-white hair seems like a deliberate choice. If they were just random nobles, why give them such distinct features? Next is Baelor's eldest son, Valar, now first in line for the Iron Throne and likely his wife, Keira of Tyrosh. While her exact hair color isn't described in the books, the Tyroshi are known for dyeing their hair vibrant colors like pink, blue, green, or scarlet. When Prince Aerion dies from the great spring sickness that sweeps Westeros in the coming months, Keira ends up marrying his cousin, Daeron the Drunk. Lucky her. Of course, we also have Egg looking sharp in his Blackfyrisk beret and his father, Prince Mikar. Rounding out the attendees are 2 Kingsguard members, Sir Donal of Duskendale and Sir Roland Crakehall. Where's the third? Sir Willem Wilda was carried from the tournament, unable to move, implying he was paralyzed during the Trial of 7. Prince Aerion also isn't there, still recovering from his injuries. In the books, Dunk attends the funeral, but here the writers have him watching from the cliff below, only coming up after it's over to see the Silent Sisters collecting Baelor's ashes. He has a somber chat with Valar, who makes the heartbreaking observation that not many children bury their fathers. Why did the gods take a man who could have been the greatest king since Aegon the Conqueror, yet spare a lowly hedge knight like Dunk? It's a question Dunk will wrestle with as his journey continues. As the attendees pack up, Dunk gets looks, none of them the hero's welcome he might have expected. As Mikar later points out, Dunk will forever be tied to the death of a prince whose potential was never realized. Our boy Raymond Fossaway, this season's MVP, gives Dunk an incredibly awkward hug. We then find out his cousin Steffon, the man who betrayed Dunk at the last moment to join Prince Aerion's side, has packed up and left, leaving Raymond with almost nothing. Losing to your younger cousin in the first trial of 7 in over a century, that's got to sting. We finally get a shot of Raymond's green apple shield. Before the trial, he had it repainted from red, saying he'd rather be an unripe green apple than a wormy red one. And as if that weren't enough, he thinks he might have broken one of Steffon's ribs. And wouldn't you know it, Raymond snagged the prettiest lady of the night who was previously canoodling with Lord Manfred Dondarrion. She's only been with Raymond for a few nights, and the fact that she's now with child suggests it's probably not his, more likely Manfred's. If this were Westeros Inquirer, it'd be front-page news. She and Raymond go on to create a splinter branch of House Fossaway, the Green Apple Fossaways, while the Red Apple Fossaways remain at Cider Hall. The Green Apples set up shop in New Barrel, which makes sense now that Raymond mentions he'll probably build a barreling business. Rowan Fossaway isn't in the books, but fans have loved her addition, and it's great to see Raymond happy. Dunk is summoned for a meeting with Prince Mikar. It's eerie how Mikar sits in the same chair with the same book in front of him, just like his brother did days earlier. Mikar reveals Arion will be sent to the Free Cities, hoping it might change him for the better. The books say he's sent to Lies, returning a decade later during the Third Blackfyre Rebellion in 219 AC. And yes, there are 5 Blackfyre rebellions if you count the War of the Ninepenny Kings, but that's a story for another time. Mikar will have to live with whispers that he killed his brother on purpose. I genuinely don't think he intended to. He never wanted Arion to demand a trial of 7, never wanted him to join the battle. And even if this was some grand play for the throne, there are 6 people ahead of him in the line of succession. Dunk laments that he had to fight to save his hand and foot, but his sorrow runs so deep he wonders if he could have spared one. Will there ever be a day when the realm needs his foot more than a prince's life? We'll never know. But there's no question Dunk's impact on Westeros will be monumental as the show continues to explore his story. As Joffrey once said in Game of Thrones, Sir Duncan the Tall, 4 pages for Sir Duncan. He must have been quite a man. So they say. Mikar makes Dunk an unexpected offer. Despite Dunk's role in Baelor's death, Mikar offers him one of the greatest positions a lowly knight could ask for, short of joining the Kingsguard. In exchange for taking Egg as his squire and swearing his sword to Mikar, Dunk would get a place at the Targaryen summer home of Summerhall, where he'd train Egg while being taught by the best master-at-arms in the 7 kingdoms. Dunk was trained by Sir Arlen, but there's still so much for him to learn. But remember what Dunk told Lionel: "All I do is bring pain and suffering to those around me." By refusing Mikar's offer, Dunk believes he's protecting Egg. He's embodying the ideals of a true knight, rejecting coin and prestige to shield the innocent. But here's the twist. Mikar believes the opposite. He thinks Egg needs Dunk's protection. Mikar knows what Egg's life would be like if he stayed. One brother has made his life a living hell, another is a drunk, and the third is halfway across the world studying to become a Maester. Mikar has already failed his first 3 sons. His final line to Dunk, referring to Egg as his last son, is heartbreaking. Not only is Egg his youngest, but he's his last chance to raise a son who won't become a failure. Dunk has to break Egg's heart by telling him he can't take him on as a squire. It's also telling that Egg lies to Dunk about spying on his conversation with Mikar. Lying has been a recurring theme for Egg. It started with a lie and it ends with one. Just as Egg hid his true motives for wanting Dunk as his squire, Dunk hides the real reason he can't take Egg on. Then there's the final lie. In the episode's tag, we see Mikar furious that Egg has run away, even though Egg told Dunk his father allowed him to go. The books never clarify Mikar's actual decision, only that he turned and walked away without a word after his talk with Dunk. It'll be fascinating to see how the show handles this going into Season 2. Dunk's flashback with Sir Arlen reveals the origin of the penny tree. When the men of House Penrose went to war, they'd pin a penny to the town's tree, reclaiming it only if they returned. Many never did, leaving the tree covered in pennies. It's a touching homage to his former master when Dunk leaves a penny on the tree he slept under at Ashford Meadow. It also hints that he might return one day. And let's not forget the fake-out of Sir Arlen's death, which keeps the ambiguity of Dunk's knighthood intact. We can assume Sir Arlen dies shortly after this scene, though. Now, that coffin, wild, who even thought to keep it inside? In the background, you can hear revelers paying tribute to Sir Humphrey Harding and Sir Humphrey Beesbury, both of whom died in the tournament. You can even spot Sir Donal of Duskendale, believed to be Beesbury's killer. Raymond isn't the sharpest tool in the shed when he thinks literal magic is keeping the bees hovering around the coffin. There's a quick 3-second shot of 2 kids playing, with one saying, "Do you yield, dragon whore?" These look like noble kids, one from House Harding, the other from Beesbury, reenacting Dunk's victory over Prince Arion. It just goes to show how quickly stories spread across the kingdom, to the point where kids are acting them out. Dunk can't believe Prince Daeron has the nerve to show his face. It was partly Daeron's fault that Baelor and the others are dead. He's the one who spread the lie that Dunk kidnapped Egg in the first place. But Daeron's here on a mission. He wants Dunk to reconsider taking Egg as his squire. Like Mikar, Daeron believes Egg staying with him won't end well. "No doubt we'll make a man of him too," he says. Then he questions whether madness is inherited or the result of upbringing. He mentions Arian was once a good child, implying that environment shapes who we become. I think this is what ultimately pushes Dunk to agree to take Egg on his own terms. Dunk knows his own life was shaped by Sir Arlen. Maybe he can do the same for a young prince. This turns out to be true. Egg goes on to become King Egon V, known as a kind and approachable man beloved by the small folk. By traveling the realm and living among the common people, Egg gains a unique perspective on their struggles, something that will define his rule over the 7 kingdoms. Or should I say 9? At the end of the episode, Egg corrects Dunk. There are actually 9 kingdoms. Both 7 and 9 are technically correct, but for different reasons. 7 comes from the formal name of the realm established by Egon the Conqueror, but a lot has changed in 200 years. 9 kingdoms reflect the current geographical and political divisions. The North, the Vale, the Iron Islands, the Riverlands, the Westerlands, the Reach, the Stormlands, Dorne, and the Crownlands. By correcting Dunk, Egg isn't just showing off, he's highlighting how the Targaryens actually govern the continent at this time. Perhaps the most audacious scene not in the books is Egg's attempt to kill Arian. Moments earlier, he looks at himself in the mirror, seeing the stubble of his white hair coming in, a reminder of everything he hates. Part of why he shaved his head was to distance himself from Arian. Knowing his dream of squiring for Dunk is over and that he'll have to return to his abusive brother, who he likely doesn't know will be sent to the Free Cities, this seems like his only way out. Remember, Egg has spent the season calling for Arian's death. Kill him, I wish Duncan had killed him. I guess he forgot his uncle's words. The Septons say we must love our brothers. A bit ironic, coming from a man who will be killed by his own brother. Luckily, Mikar is there. Without saying a word, he places his hands on Egg's shoulders and we hear the knife drop. Mikar doesn't scold his son, he understands him. Egg's decision here isn't just a failure on Egg's part. It's a failure on Mikar as a father. Dunk requests an audience with Mikar, but first, we get one last cameo from Gwyneth Ashford, the young lady whose name day tournament this all was for. She tells Dunk she doesn't blame him for ruining her day and that he did the right thing. Quite the change from when she called him big and stupid earlier. In his final meeting with Mikar, Dunk honors Baelor's memory by agreeing to take Egg as his squire. Maybe this is his way of giving Baelor what he wanted. A good man who would one day become king. Dunk will take Egg on one condition: he learns what it's like to live as a hedge knight. Egg will learn on the road, sleeping in inns and stables, working for landed knights and lesser lords. At first, Mikar resists. Stables and salted beef are no life for a prince. But as Dunk points out, the life of a prince didn't exactly work out for Daeron and Arian. Though it's not said outright, it's clear Mikar isn't willing to lose his last son. So Dunk sets off on his own until Raymond shows up with a gift. His old horse, Sweetfoot, whom he sold for new armor. Dunk had promised to buy Sweetfoot back if he won the tournament, but he didn't win the tournament. He won the right to keep his hand and foot by winning the Trial of 7. There's no cash prize for that. Dunk comes out of this poorer than when he went in, but Raymond, the absolute legend, buys Sweetfoot back for him. In the end, though, Dunk gives Sweetfoot to Raymond, saying life on an orchard will be better for her. Raymond even feeds her a green apple. He also brings news. Lionel wants Dunk as his stag, essentially in his service at Storm's End. Dunk rejects this, which made me think of Lionel's earlier line, "I'll hate you like a brother." In the world of ice and fire, we learn that Duncan the Tall eventually faces Lionel in a trial by combat. This happens when Egg, now King Egon V, has his son Prince Duncan Targaryen break his betrothal to Lionel's daughter to marry Jenny of Oldstones. Dunk wins the duel and Lionel yields, leading to a resolution where Egg agrees to marry his daughter Rhaelle to Lionel's heir, Ormond Baratheon, the grandfather of Robert Baratheon. So even here, we see how Dunk and Egg's story weaves the history of Westeros, leading all the way to Game of Thrones itself. Egg joins Dunk, claiming his father said he could serve him. That was a lie, Dunk says. And immediately, he gets to work correcting Egg, "Serve you, sir," and issuing orders. If Egg is going to squire for Dunk, he won't be treated like a prince. He's going to live the life of a hedge knight squire. But where to next? Egg suggests the Red Mountains, leading to Dorne, the same direction Tanselle was headed. The Red Mountains were mentioned in Episode 1 as the place where Sir Arlen served Manfred Dondarrion's father in his hunt for the Vulture King. As we close, we get a symbolic shot. Sir Arlen's path veers off, his journey is over. Meanwhile, Dunk and Egg ride into the sunset together. You might even catch Dunk giving one last glance to his former master. Season 2 has already started filming, and with these shorter episodes, HBO plans to release a new season every year. Season 2 will cover the second novella, The Sworn Sword, which throws Dunk and Egg into the middle of a feud between two rival houses. After the new title, A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms, we get a fun tag of the Targaryens heading home. Aerion is still wounded as hell, and you can even see Daeron holding a sack of wine for the road. We end with Mikar furious that Egg is nowhere to be found. This show is full of callbacks to its beginning, and it's so refreshing to see great storytelling return to Westeros. Let us know what you thought of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, Movies and Series Reset. Until next time, remember, the night is dark and full of terrors, but the stories, they're just getting started.